Scumsoft, an alternate reality game for the 2019 Vinesauce's Hope charity event. This was my second project for this event, the other one being the Captain Vine Toad Adventure, which a video about this one can be found on my channel here as well. I'm going to start this video by thanking a whole bunch of people, and then I'll step through most of the game, but because of the complexity of this year, there's no way I could go through every single puzzle that we had. A big thank you goes to Hootie for allowing such a weird thing to happen during this event, and also to the Vinesauce community as a whole for being weird enough to embrace something like this. Next, I would like to thank GreatSphynx, who worked very closely with me throughout all of this. He was at every meeting, gave regular feedback. He also ended up producing something like 80% of the total puzzles. He created images of all the fake games and also provided some original music as well. Next, I want to thank barkScript, who designed and developed the fully functioning bullet sponge game along with Jacoby. Concluding an event like this is always a very difficult task, so we were all super grateful for the huge amount of time and effort that he put into giving us a conclusion that was better than anything that we could have developed on our own. Next, I want to thank Pierdeer, who created the introduction video that started this whole thing. He created the weird little vision test game based on my convoluted description, and then he filmed it, acted in it, and ran it all through an old CRT TV, which gave us maximum authenticity. Next, I'd like to thank Norix Wolf, who, as we all know, is a technical genius. He provided hosting for the whole game, technical support, and wrote all of the original code that brought Drippy to life. Speaking of Drippy, we owe it all to Allie for the original sketch that was based on our ideas, and to Pierdeer for finalizing the design and even animating multiple expressions. And I'd like to thank myself. I led this project despite all kinds of life stuff happening. I tried to create an interesting story based on the word scum. That was literally it. A single word is all that we had to work off of. I'll cover more of the story once I actually get to going through the websites in a little bit here. Last but not least, I want to thank you, the players. This wouldn't have happened without us knowing that the Vinesauce community is a special brand of weird that would actually play something like this. I put together a general list of players that I noticed dedicating a lot of their time to us in no particular order. We've got Atsui Mano, Sovium, Talos, Alizarin Red, Punished Pilkington, Pax Unda, Error, Milo, Scoot, VHS, Mudley, Majester, Kyo, Air Salad, R Forever, Mimetic, Bobby SQ, Bantwatha, Chocolate Jake, Cosmic Radiosity, Nove, and Supersonic 21. And of course, there were many more people who stopped by just to contribute a thing here and there, so thank you to anyone who took part. So, how popular were we this year? According to Google Analytics, we had roughly 700 unique visitors to the website as a whole, with 7,100 page views. And that sounds like a huge number, which it is, but from my own observations, we had around 40 players who consistently returned and were engaged with the game throughout its entire life. Here's where it all began. A tweet by Investigator91. We went through many different names, but so many of them kept bringing up creepy pornographic results when you Googled it, so we decided on something innocent that couldn't possibly lead to any immediate derailing. Once we made the channel on Discord, somebody, I think Alizarin Red, found the Twitter account almost immediately, so we didn't have to hint at anything further since it was found so quickly. That tweet led everybody to here. Everything you see and hear during this part was done by Pierdeer. It was based on my convoluted description.
Okay, so I recently found this floppy disk. I found this at a garage sale. I'm not quite sure what is on there, to be honest, but figured I might as well make a video about it to see what is on there. So got my computer hooked up to this monitor, and yeah, I'm gonna insert the floppy disk. There we go. So I guess this is some kids game, some educational software. It's weird. Moment. Oh, I think I figured it out now. So I guess you aren't supposed to select the house, even though the robot asks you to. So that's correct. So okay, now it's asking for the dog. I guess that might be wrong too. Or not. Oh, 1 second. I'm gonna have to turn off the camera.
He was supposed to be an innocent bystander in terms of the story, someone who stumbled upon a secret piece of software that was used internally by a secretive organization. The purpose was to verify that potential hires are susceptible to the chemical experiment going on at this company. The video was supposed to have been produced sometime in the early 2000s, but only discovered recently by Investigator 91. After analyzing the video, players would eventually learn that the score listed at the bottom was actually an IP address that could be entered into a browser to access the first major hub of the game, the corrupted website. When I designed this little puzzle, I knew it would be difficult to make the leap from numbers from a video to IP address to put into a browser. However, I figured it would help set the stage for the kinds of puzzles players were in for. Plus, all players would be focused on this one puzzle, so it felt like a reasonable challenge to have this early on, which proved to be true. On a side note, if players went to last year's teaser website, scumsoft.games, they would be met with a newly styled error message that served as kind of a subtle hint that, yes, this year is indeed going to be related to Scumsoft, and you'd know this before it was officially revealed the following day. Anyway, going to the IP address given by the video led you to the corrupted website. The error at the top is supposed to show that the website didn't just randomly break. It was intentionally corrupted by an automatic security system in order to prevent whoever stole these files from reading any of the information. Players won't know who stole these files, how they stole them, and why until the very end of the event. For now, you just get to feel like a cool hacker man doing obscure technical tasks to reverse the corruption and dig further into it. I did all of the puzzle, visual, and audio development for this one. The images in the background are connected to the story one way or another, relating to characters players will be introduced to later, but I don't think anyone really picked up on it because it is a pretty minor detail this early on. The color bar here is all hex color with a hexadecimal message hidden in each RGB value. Nobody solved it how I anticipated because I didn't realize you could just open the file in a text editor to get the solution. Very observant of you all though. There was a message hidden in the question mark tooltips, the decimal body text, and in the spectrograms of the background audio of each of these 4 pages. If you lined up all of the spectrograms vertically, the order of the word would be pieced together, but I think you guys just anagram the word pretty quickly. Last was the grid of hex dots hidden in the looping background image, where you would use this chart to translate them into letters. I personally thought it was fun making and translating these things, but I could tell people really didn't like them. I'll keep my tears to myself. After all of this, you assembled the code into the URL and put the site into restoration mode overnight. Nearly every puzzle here was also used last year to an extent, but the main purpose was to train everyone on the types of puzzles coming up for the rest of the game. So, The plan was to release only half of the next website the following day, but I was struggling to get my puzzles together on time in a satisfactory state. It was already past midnight, and I didn't want to release everything so late when barely anyone would be around to even do them. So we decided to delay it to the next day. It was a very stressful time. However, it did kind of work out for the better in the end. When people showed up the next day, they were met with this: Scumsoft confirmed. The Scumsoft logo was created by barkScript, the same guy that created the Bullet Sponge game. I designed and developed the website that houses the rest of the game from this point on. I created the first few puzzles here, and then GreatSphynx did all the rest once you acquire the first code wheel. Most of the animated GIFs seen throughout here were historic artifacts extracted from actual 1990s GeoCities websites. CoolSong.mp3 was created by barkScript. I manually adjusted the frame rate of every GIF here to make them move more in rhythm to the music. The puzzle has kind of a Stranger Things vibe to it, where you watch the lights flash. Each one correlates to a letter of the alphabet, giving you the word bodacious. Then you looked at the tooltips of each GIF to translate that word into a big string of words, which was entered as a command into the website. From this point on, I'm going to skip around a bit and explain some story details as they're revealed. Like I said earlier, we had to come up with a story just based on the word scum and some really basic ideas that we threw around last year. At this point, all that players know is that Investigator 91 thinks the discovery of the video and accessing the website is very important, but not exactly why. So far, everything has been worded as if we're looking into something from the past. When you view this page, you'll see that there's 5 people who used to work here. Of course, the most striking one is the redacted one at the bottom. This person has been expecting the players, revealing that they were once an intern at this company and that they exploited a flaw in the system to make sure that they were hired. They speak in the past tense to give you the idea that whatever is spoken by this method is not in the same timeline as the original content of the website. The message reads, "If you've made it this far, then you're probably in search of what happened here. I can't tell just anyone. They're still out there looking for us, looking for him and her. I convinced someone to infiltrate their hiding spot and break or steal a bunch of their things, but the fact that you're here now means it was worth it. This is our story." What's trying to be conveyed here is that this intern knew that outside people, the players, would eventually be accessing these files, and that it's important that they gradually dig through all of it to understand their story from start to finish. With enough digging around the website, players would eventually learn that by talking to Drippy, you would reveal that the company has special technology for selecting candidates, the same technology seen in the introduction video. Drippy also mentions that this same sequence is used for the guest account login. Combine all the puzzle solutions up to this point and you're in. Once you're logged into the guest account, you'll see emails and files that are available. The emails during this phase were written by Hootie and later edited by me. The intern's name is redacted all throughout, presumably by the intern. You'll see some of the personalities of the Scumsoft team showing through, especially Tara, who likes to tease people with her games. At the end, you'll see that she sends the intern on a quest to complete the first code wheel. Once you've completed Drippy's little text adventure, you'll have the completed wheel and can now pull information out of the screenshots seen on the company's website. GreatSphynx combined all kinds of elements together to create these very convincing screenshots. I so badly wanted to play all of these games. For those that don't know, the inspiration for these code wheels came from an actual anti-piracy measure used in old games of a similar generation. Players will then get access to Terra's account. All of the employee accounts follow a similar format with this faked file directory looking thing. Each folder contains their own set of puzzles with their own themes and increasing difficulty. GreatSphynx created all of these himself, and they're based on personality traits of each of the characters. Terra has a geeky internet meme lord personality and is also the IT specialist for the company. She also has a massive spreadsheet of logins and passwords that will lead players to all the rest of the employee pages, including a secret one. All of these could be accessed in any order, forcing everyone to divide up and figure out who should work on which directory. These were all quite difficult and took around 12 hours for people to get online and organized and to get through and complete them all. Here are some of the pages visited during this time. Grace is the artist of the team, so part of the challenge is sorting through all of these art assets to find puzzle clues. The key to these triangular parts is actually found on the main staff page, the rest around here in her file structure. Story-wise, you'll start to see here that she's concerned about the intern because he keeps straying from the strict schedule enforced at this company. A recurring theme is how everyone has become comfortable with peculiar expectations. I didn't get to include as much about this aspect as I wanted to due to running out of time and such. One instance is that nobody is allowed to be in the office after 3 p.m. Another thing is how the office constantly smells like bananas. An email here mentions that they hope someone does something about it. For Brad, we see another reference to the unusual banana smell, but also the intern asking about a weird man with a mustache that he keeps seeing arrive at the office just as everybody is leaving. Brad tells him that the man has worked here for a long time and to just ignore him, which of course makes the intern even more curious. We also see them comment about how the intern looks like a deer in headlights while in his cubicle, and asks if there's normally so many other people around the office, but he gets laughed off. It's important to note this. Under Cliff's emails, you'll see some repetition of important story aspects, such as the bananas, the intern concerned why there's so many people in the office, and Cliff thinking he's joking around, but also a hint about Terra being the go-to person for usernames and passwords. Cliff's puzzles are all music-oriented and actually highly educational. GreatSphynx put a lot of time and effort into producing these, along with some additional music created by him.
If you do not understand the material presented here, please rewind the tape and listen again. Welcome back to Sir Peter's Essential Audio Guide to Reading and Understanding Music. I am Sir Peter. On this bonus tape we will learn to recognize and read pitches. While the information presented on tape 1 is not required to get meaning from this bonus tape, it is recommended listening. C4. H. E4. E. B4. L. D5. O. I. Bye. Their perception by the brain. Humans can only hear sound waves as distinct pitches when the frequency lies between about 20 Hz and 20 kHz. Sound waves above 20 kHz are known as ultrasound and is not perceptible by humans. Sound waves below 20 Hz are known as infrasound. Affects the apparent loudness of the sound. Louder signals create a greater push on the basilar membrane and thus stimulate more nerves, creating a stronger loudness signal. Timbres. Even if those instruments are playing notes at the same fundamental pitch and loudness.
System 700 Synthesizer
Very nice.
I really recommend checking them out, even if just to learn more about how music is structured. Lastly, we have a secret account, an account belonging to someone who no longer works at the company. Gator91, also known as Allie. Yes, the Twitter account Investigator91 is actually her. The only file found here is a single MP3 of phone records. When listening to this, you'll find a complete record of her greeting customers over the phone, but also a whole lot more. You'll hear how she's becoming increasingly paranoid while at work. She discovers evidence of a past employee who seems to have been erased from history. She even swears to figure out what's going on at this company and is met with a surprise knock at her door.
Thank you for calling Scumsoft Games, a multi-million-dollar games development corporation focused on quality user experience and management. All other customer service technicians are currently busy at the moment with other callers. We appreciate your business and hope that our automated phone system can help to answer any of your questions. This call may be monitored and recorded for future call experience development. Please press 9 or simply stay on the line to hear a list of options to choose from. No, I don't care what HR says. This guy's files and his name keep popping up everywhere, and I'm not going home until I figure this out. Press 0. Okay, system, administrator files, no, prior employee records, C for Chip. He started in 1993. That's no termination date, no performance reviews. This doesn't make any sense. It's like he never worked here. It's like he...
She's too curious, knows too much. Let's take a look at some of her tweets to put context to it. Most of the technical purpose of this Twitter account was just to be able to communicate to our players with a character in the story. So you can see a lot of it is kind of helping players understand what's going on, reinforcing some story elements and giving hints towards puzzles and all of that. But if you read through them all, you can see that it reveals a little bit about Allie and how she began this whole event in hiding and was very hesitant to come out and share this information with everyone. And then towards the end here, you can see a kind of a reveal about what ended up happening to her now and into the future. We're almost at the end of the game. So the reward for completing each of the puzzles is a piece of a zip archive. Once all of them have been assembled, you'll obtain a PDF containing scans of confidential documents. When examining them closely, you'll see some early transactions between Scumsoft and their dreaded client. Most notably here is the acronym SCUM, S-C-U-M, which stands for Subliminal Chemical User Manipulation. At the end of this video, I'll be going into a lot more detail about Project Scum and the kinds of things that happened during the experiment. So that was all of the second day. And as one might imagine, it was a very long day. As I mentioned before, all of that was supposed to be across 2 days originally, but I poorly predicted how long it would take me to compile everything together, so we combined it into 1 day. And now, the final day. Initially, when going to the usual IP address website, nothing is different. However, the first tweet of the day guided players back to where it all began over a year ago, scumsoft.games, for a final puzzle and a big story dump. Up top is a final message from the intern, as well as a preface for what's about to be in the hands of the players. Below all this are the oldest known emails from Scumsoft back before it had a name. We see 2 founders talking with a mysterious organization who gives them an offer that they can't refuse. Right away, they start experiencing weird things. Players eventually learn that Scumsoft was named as a joke by one of the founders, who was mistakenly informed by the client about the code name of the experiment that their company was unknowingly about to partake in. The company didn't have a name at the time, so he decided to go with the name Scumsoft. Once the final soup puzzle is figured out, players get the word Anomaloscope 806. This actually serves as a critical plot detail as to what the Scum project set out to test. An anomaloscope is a device that tests people for color blindness, and the number at the end is a statistic related to the number of people in the world with yellow-blue blindness. I'll talk more about this at the very end of this video because we're now at the finale of the event, Bullet Sponge. This game was produced by barkScript with assistance from Chikobi. It contained original everything, original music, graphics, characters, and our Scumsoft story. We were all very grateful for the crazy amount of time and effort put into this part of the game. We were blown away with how feature complete it ended up being. Ending an alternate reality game is notoriously difficult because of how much time and patience you ask from your players. We were very fortunate this year to have an ending in place before we even had an introduction or most of the core of the larger game determined. So it became a matter of how to design the rest of the game to accommodate this ending. We knew that we wanted it to resemble a classic first-person shooter from the early 90s, and that was enough for barkScript to begin development. Our overall story underwent lots and lots of changes, so it wasn't until about a month before launch that we determined that the game should have a secret ending tied closely to our story. Should there be multiple endings? Should players be able to alter the website based on actions in the game? What year should this take place during? Should it be an unexpectedly funny ending? Should it be darker? All of these decisions ended up sculpting the rest of the game. We had to balance it out with what could realistically be developed in the short amount of time and on a volunteer basis. When you first begin the game, you'll see that you have a punch mechanic and a spray bottle. We didn't want there to be any guns or gore, sort of a Chex Quest vibe to it all. You'd be able to complete the game in a traditional way just by getting to the end of each level, fighting the boss, rescuing the scientist. However, you would receive this message.
You missed something. Keep looking.
After looking closer, you'd soon discover that there are secret walls that could be opened, which would take you to an eerie back room place with a much different tone from everything else. The music stops, you hear only subtle ambient wind effects. It would feel like you're trespassing somewhere you don't belong, on the edge, waiting to be caught. Originally, there were just going to be buttons to find back here, but barkScript went the extra mile and programmed in weird illusions and mini-games to make it much more challenging. When pressing a button, you would be met with this. A sound and message that feels out of place from the rest of the game. After pressing all these buttons in the first level, you'd be faced with this challenge. If you couldn't tell, you're supposed to count every instance of these particular items in the map. You would then be given a part of a code as a reward. The second level would prove to be much more challenging in all respects. New enemies, a boss fight, and secret buttons hidden in more difficult places. There is even a box sliding minigame. If you found all the secret buttons, you'd find this final puzzle, which proved to be way more difficult than anything else in the game. Looking into the spectrogram of the music would give you a hint. The challenge was to play one instance of the melody without any sharps or flats. People were stuck on this one for quite a long time. After it was finally figured out, players were met with the real ending. As you can see, this level has quite a different tone from everything else. Most of what players encounter during this entire sequence would only make sense to those who read through the emails and listened to Allie's phone conversations. However, even without that background information, barkScript managed to create a fun twist on the gameplay that stood well on its own. The sequence begins with players wandering around an office, unsure of what's going on. A voice soon interrupts you and tells you to find your equipment and do your job. Strange floating creatures can be found sitting in front of desks and hallways, and the spray in your hand seems to kill them, causing them to fade away. Once the spray has overtaken the office, specific things start to fade into this visual noise effect. Once you're done, you're told to go home. However, on your way out, someone stops you. It's the intern.
Trust me and follow my instructions. I can help you break this cycle. You can help me leak their data, the emails, the tests, everything. With all of that brought to light, nobody will ever have to work here again. Close that door. Help me get this information out to the world and stop them from treating good people like lab rats. Oh my god, you actually did it. Alright, you're not alone back here. Be careful. See if you can't find their server room.
You're instructed on how to break your conditioning and put an end to what's been going on here. You make your way into the hidden back hallways of the company where these cloaked agents roam around, and a voice guides you to acquire special glasses that allow you to see them, steal important data, and eventually destroy the operation.
Warning, critical data breach detected. Building self-destruct will now begin. Please evacuate the premises.
I think it might be time to go. Meet me at the front entrance.
For the players, this was the end of the alternate reality game. The credits are rolling, everyone was happy, they finally had it completed and it was over. But there was actually a lot more that went on behind the scenes. There were a lot of ideas and concepts and things that underwent many iterations. To most of our audience, this entire event raised far more questions than it answered, which was mostly intentional, but I'd like to now pull it all together and explain what exactly was going on with this story. I was personally in charge of most of the writing, and I was constantly trying to maintain narrative coherence with every major design change that happened. I've never had this kind of responsibility before, and it definitely is not a strength of mine. However, as a team, we wanted to push ourselves. We wanted to try something bigger and more complex. I'll be the first to admit that this story is full of holes and incoherence. But when it comes down to it, we're all just happy that we completed it and we released it to the world. So most of what you're about to hear was not fully represented within the Scumsoft event, but since I don't see myself taking this story anywhere else, I wanted to share it with you all in its entirety. Scumsoft was the victim. They started out as just a couple dudes in the early 1990s making video games. However, there wasn't much hope for the company's future. Out of nowhere, a mysterious company contacted them, praising their games, offering a great deal of money for their cooperation. It was an offer that seemed too good to be true, and it was. Unknown to them at the time, they had just agreed to be a part of a cruel experiment that would continue on for nearly a decade. Employees of Scumsoft would be living an artificial life. The experiments began with overt attempts at monitoring and manipulating, cameras, microphones, changing environments, strict rules. This level of intrusion got to be too much for the founders of Scumsoft, but right as they were about to call off the whole partnership, Phase 2 of the experiment went into effect. Scum, subliminal chemical user manipulation. The client had found a way to continue their monitoring and experimentation exactly as they had before, but now it could be done completely invisible to their subjects. Over the years, the client would refine this chemical and prepare it to be sold to companies around the world under the disguise as a cleaning chemical spray called Bullet Sponge, a chemical that would make a subject's brain susceptible to the cleansing of brain cells. Specific things could be blocked from a subject's memories or prevented from being perceived altogether. In the case of Scumsoft, it was used to erase the color yellow. While under the influence of Bullet Sponge, the client made Scumsoft employees blind to anything colored bright yellow. Agents were constantly wandering around the office dressed in yellow suits, checking on their subjects, conducting new experiments, all while remaining completely invisible to them. Bananas were left at the desks of all Scumsoft employees as a form of alarm as to if Bullet Sponge's effects were about to wear off. If a subject were to suddenly become aware of the banana sitting at their desk, the chemical would need to be reapplied. Everything was going well for the client. For years, Scumsoft was under the illusion that they were growing as a company, that they were being paid well. The client reassured them that they were doing great, that the profits were at an all-time high. As each year passed, the client was getting one step closer to making Bullet Sponge chemical manipulation a worldwide phenomenon. Even though it sounds like this is kind of a win-win situation between the client and Scumsoft, there's a darker side to all of this. With the client in rigorous control over the lives of their subjects, there was no room for deviation in the workplace. The client could not risk their subjects becoming aware that they were a part of an experiment. For years, Scumsoft teams that developed resistance to early forms of Bullet Sponge were given deadly dosages in order to wipe away any memory of their involvement with Scumsoft. Years of their lives erased. They were suddenly dumped back onto the streets with no job and severe memory loss. They would struggle to reintegrate back into society or even to find their way back home. Just as a sponge is full of holes, so was Bullet Sponge's future. Though the client did all that they could to erase generations of test subjects from history, the process was prone to errors. Scumsoft audio records would later reveal the struggle of an employee named Allie. While in the process of updating company inventory, she came across an entry by an unfamiliar person named Chip. It was commonplace for the client to enforce a strict curfew so she took a major risk by staying late to access an old computer terminal to search through old employee records. She would discover that Chip was never officially terminated from Scumsoft and just disappeared one day. A later audio recording would reveal to us that she too eventually went missing as well. It wasn't until the late 90s when the client's plans would crumble apart. They were getting ready to market Bullet Sponge as a cleaning spray that could increase workplace efficiency. Companies would begin to make regular use of this product, inadvertently priming their employees for subliminal manipulation by unknown outside parties. Janitorial staff were to become familiar with applying the chemical at specific times every night. Scumsoft only ever had one janitor throughout its entire history. The client made sure that he never interacted with other employees or became aware of his nefarious purpose. The client eventually directed Scumsoft to develop a video game to market their product using the same name as the chemical, Bullet Sponge. This game was a major technological leap above their previous games and the first one that would actually reach the outside world. For the first time, Scumsoft was allowed to hire an intern to assist in completing the game on time. As mentioned earlier, one application of the Bullet Sponge chemical was used to blind Scumsoft employees to the color yellow. Previously, all new hires at Scumsoft would have to undergo repeated interviews, where they would be tested with specially designed software while under the influence of Bullet Sponge. The software was a simple test that would instruct them to select an icon representing the words spoken by the computer. Eventually, a yellow object would be mentioned and shown. However, the correct answer would be none of the above. This would imply that the subject was unable to see the yellow icon. Any errors during this test would result in immediate termination. Scumsoft's new intern should have never been hired. He was desperate for a job and researched Scumsoft to give him an advantage. The company had recently integrated Drippy, an AI-driven web assistant. The intern conversed with Drippy until it revealed to him that Scumsoft uses special software during its interviews. He knew that stealing the software was the key to getting hired. He memorized the correct order to ensure that he passed on his first try. However, unknown to him at the time, the client's reason for the test was to confirm successful blindness to the color yellow. During his first day working at Scumsoft, he immediately saw men in suits wandering around the office, cameras, recording equipment, bananas everywhere. It was his first day, and he needed this job, so he didn't ask any questions and just focused on developing the game he was hired to make. The intern had a rare condition known as tritanopia, blue-yellow color blindness, meaning that this specific type of chemical conditioning would not affect him. No amount of treatment would affect his ability to see the color yellow because his eyes have adapted to seeing an alternate color spectrum. The Bullet Sponge game was underway, and crunch time was hitting the company hard. One day, the intern decided to stay late, past the client's strict curfew, in order to finish the game. All that he had left was to design the appearance of the hero character. The only other person in the office this late was the janitor, who was about to begin applying the Bullet Sponge chemical. He and the intern got into a long conversation that went into the night. Because the janitor missed his deadline for applying the chemical, his memories were starting to return to him. The two of them began exploring around the office, finding yellow doorways leading to long dark corridors, security and monitoring equipment everywhere. Seeing all this jogged the janitor's memories of Scumsoft's past, and it made him become overwhelmed with guilt, realizing he had played an instrumental role in developing the Bullet Sponge chemical. The two of them agreed that they needed to shut the place down and tell the world about what happened there, but it would be too dangerous for them to do it right this minute. the client would immediately know who was responsible and go through whatever means possible to find them and fragment both of their brains with lethal dosages of the chemical. So they came up with a plan. The intern would program a secret level hidden inside the promotional video game to document Scumsoft's history. Its secrecy would buy them both enough time to leave the country safely. A few nights later, the intern fitted the janitor with an earpiece so he could remotely talk to the janitor during his regular shift. He talked him through breaking his chemical conditioning and sneaking into the client's secret back rooms. During this mission, all kinds of data was stolen and the mainframe computers destroyed. The two of them escaped in a getaway car together, never to be seen again. During his late-night conversation with the janitor, the intern discovered the existence of a past employee named Allie, whose story was discussed earlier. She had hidden her name on items found around the office in hopes to inspire curiosity in who she was, in the same manner that Chip had inspired her. After making his escape, the intern tampered with disks of the client's conditioning software so that they contained the IP address of where he was to host Scumsoft's old website. These disks were spread across the country and ended up in garage sales. As the internet grew into popularity in the late 90s, early 2000s, videos of the software started surfacing online. It wasn't until 2019 when someone by the name of Investigator91 would reach out and ask for the public's help on uncovering the history behind these disks. As we now know, Investigator91 was actually former Scumsoft employee Allie. She only managed to just barely escape Scumsoft unharmed. Her eagerness to discover the truth drove the client to terminate her employment, but she knew this fate was coming and only suffered a partial brainwash before going into hiding. She couldn't remember everything about her past, but she knew enough to reach out and seek help from all of you. This is where the game began. Again, thank you to everyone who played our weird little game, and thank all of you who actually took the time to watch this lengthy video that took me way too long to put together. As a tribute to all of you that played along with Scumsoft as it was happening, I put together a whole group of different reactions from you all as new things were discovered and you were live streaming and chatting on Discord and doing all of that. So I hope you enjoy taking a look at the game from our perspective.
Spooky ARG time.
Hi.
Oh man, everybody's in here too. We got Hootie, we got Sphinx, we got Mono.
Alright, it's time to break the code.
Tours.
It's time to freak out about every single detail. Is there any link with the maximum amount of people in the voice chat?
Nope, 99 people was thing for last year too.
It's IP, huh? Oh god, I fought it.
We're having trouble finding the site.
Whoa! That is one weird website.
Oh.
What?
Spooky.
Guys, go see the web. Just search for the IP address.
Holy shit.
Yeah!
This is so scary. Address?
Guys, I told you! It might have been. I told you it could have been an IP address.
And then we have this long string of numbers, which is.
Oh god, that is mildly terrifying.
The error code is going to be important too.
Oh, that's really spooky.
Wait, who is that in the background?
There's multiple people.
Yeah, I see.
I think we've hit a gold mine at this point.
And bananas, but these people look familiar. Like I've fucking seen them before.
Oh, guys, the X are links to different pages.
Are these fucking Doom devs? No, they're not. No.
The X at the top are links to different pages.
Oh.
And there's a school, there's a guy in front of a computer, there's like an office, like there's weird stuff. There's a hallway.
What'd I miss?
Spooky.
You missed a lot of stuff right now.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie.
We just got here.
I'm not gonna lie, I am genuinely spooked right now because like
I'm gonna post
these voices are the worst.
This is
Now,
so cool.
This number sequence, where can we use this?
I'm gonna post this under a new.
Oh, this is deep. This is awesome.
What the hell?
I swear, this is the only server where you can say Scrungus and everyone in it knows exactly what you're talking.
You got it.
This process can take up to 24 hours. When complete, files will appear here. Sleep is recommended. Well, it's telling us to sleep, so.
Wow.
I don't think it has to be turned. I think the two can just overlap, and that gives us our answer.
Yeah, and then you have to line to two. It's probably the two symbols. It's probably two symbols and a word. So we need to line up probably a tree and a skeleton and find the word obey or something, and that gives us a. But where the code goes, I don't know. Like, what is this?
Oh my god. What?
Nice.
Bullet sponge. Oh, the background.
It's
oh,
a
it's
game.
static.
Woo!
Oh, we're downloading the game. We're downloading the game.
Please, I want all the viruses.
Yeah, I almost definitely did that, but I spelled it wrong. God.
Virus.mp3.exe.
Time to play it, boys.
What the the bullet sponge is not corporation download, and it may be danger. What?
Wait, this is an actual game? We're getting a Scumsoft game?
Seems so.
Yes, it's doomed engine. Looks like it.
Mom or Doom? Oh, bullet sponge.
And you could
Yeah,
spray
I
it with.
I knew it was bullet sponge. Oh, I leave for 5 minutes and y'all found bullet sponge.
Who did... What kind of knowledge did Sponge absorb? What? Oh no. I missed... I got the disc though. Yeah, I got it. Did I need to get another disc? I will play test your game, Scumsoft. I'm just reading the Discord. New game. What have we missed, chat?
I beat it. This is my most proud
together.
accomplishment in any video game ever.
So, explore every inch of this room. No clip is not an option in this game, unfortunately. Do you have to hit E on anything? I don't think you would. I think that would be too mean. So, triangle. Insert floppy disk. There we go. And secret. So that's a two-part secret. Let's find that door again. So...
Sound test. What's this?
Wow, alright. Confetti, boys! We did it! Now what? Piece of paper. Paper. X6. We did it, lads! Is this some spooky sponge lore that I'm about to get? Maybe. There's Go get your instruments. Are you spooked yet, lads? Oh, press E on the front door. I'll try that. But we need to go get our instruments. Is that open? We're locked in. We need to go get our instruments. So... this is a sneaking mission.
Looks like some kind of chemical lab. They must be finding that spray in here.
Would the spray be in here? I need some weapons. This isn't going to be a big boss run. We already got one encounter. We did it. Anything new? We escaped. But at what cost? Record scratch. That's me. You're probably wondering how I got in this situation. Bullet sponge. Here's the credits. Let's admire each and every person who put time and effort into this.
Are you still there?